Okay, so hello everybody from groups. This is Gage Brown, and I'm playing a casual, fun poker game, heads up, no limit hold'em here with Olivia Rasnick. For anybody that is unfamiliar, yeah, I do play online poker for a living. Olivia is more of a recreational, casual player, so I do expect to have a big edge here. But it's poker; I could always lose despite having a big edge. Anyway, so we're gonna hopefully try to make this somewhat entertaining and educational. So just got the first hand here. I opened the button here, and she called and actually flopped the nuts with the straight. So I'm gonna keep betting, and we'll see what happens. We're just gonna start off with a half pot here. Like I don't really know how she plays at all. We got a call. That's good. That's a good turn card. So she probably has at least something. So I'm just gonna size up to probably 3/4 pot on the turn here, unless she leads out or something, I guess, and then I raise. She leads out a 1/4 pot, which is a pretty weird play. I can't imagine this achieving a whole lot, but I'm just going to go ahead and make a big raise. She calls. Get a queen on the river. So I guess now we lose to like King Jack, but that's really the only hand we lose to. I'm actually just going to like overshove all in on the river here because this is the very first hand, and I think that there's a good chance that I think she'll just call me with like some one pair hand. I don't think she'll fold any of her 2 pairs or better, and I think a lot of her just 1 pair hands will call because it's the first hand, and she might think that I'm bullish. She leads out the river, so we have an easy shove for value with the straight, and she had we both had 8-7 and split the pot on the first hand. That is interesting. I did not expect that, but fun. That was cute. All right. So anyway, yeah. So waiting on her to play the next hand here. She's going to limp the button. That's going to be too passive in general. There's just no good reason to be doing that. So there's a raise real big, 5x out of position, and just try to punish her for limping. This flop, I'll just check it with ace high. I mean, you get the showdown and win with ace high pretty often here, and it's a fairly dry board. That, like if I had complete nothing here, I would probably continuation bet and try to take it down. But we'll just check call half pot. I mean, I think ace high is still the best hand here, like pretty often. But if she keeps betting on the turn, I'll probably fold. I mean, I don't really know what her range looks like here yet, but I think that ace high is the best hand here reasonably often. Probably will fold to a river bet, though, because she can have a number of pairs. I don't know. I mean, it's not a great run out. The queen and the 10 there, but we'll see. She had the king. That's fair enough. Kind of weird that she doesn't continue betting that. If I were her, I would have bet the turn and almost certainly the river as well, but that's fine. I'm using a standard 3 times the big blind opening size right now, just as like that's my default heads up against most people, and so we'll just sort of like see what happens with that, and we kind of experiment a little bit early on and try to get an idea of how she plays and adjust from there. We're not actually playing for real money, by the way. This is not a real money site. She wanted to just play for free first, so we're just gonna do that. So I'm just gonna half pot here and kind of see. I'm just kind of starting off trying to get an idea of like how often she'll fold the flop when she misses, or if she'll just like call with whatever hand and like hope to get lucky on the turn. Okay, she does fold, so we'll keep going. See how it goes. She's gonna limp again, so I guess just raise a reasonably strong range at the top, maybe 30-35% of hands or something when she limps probably, and just check everything else. Here we just have nothing, and I don't really expect many folds all that often, so I guess I'll just take a stab at the river and see if she'll fold absolutely nothing, maybe. Yeah, okay, cool. So thus far, actually my first impression is that maybe she's like a little bit on the conservative side. So yeah, so I'm actually going to kind of keep stabbing at flops for half pot with the wide range to just sort of try to get an idea of what sorts of hands she continues against that size with on the flop. Then I pick up a gut shot on the turn. That's not really enough equity for me to want to barrel here, so I'm just going to check it back. And we do actually get super lucky and river the backdoor straight, and I'm just going to bet pot and see if I can get a call. I don't think that her calling range changes a whole lot with my sizing here, so I go on the bigger side because I have a good hand. And she just folds. That's fine. So anyway, yeah, the most apparent mistake she's making so far is limping the button rather than raising. It's a common beginner mistake. I mean, it's, you know, it makes sense intuitively to think like, okay, I just want to like get to the flop as cheaply as possible, but actually you should be raising the button the overwhelming majority of the time and heads up. I'm just going to c-bet like a pretty big size here, and like obviously I have a pretty strong hand. Not really going to get away from this hand here. Heads up. So we'll just sort of see what happens. Get some error messages to click through there. And she just folds, which is fine. So again, like, she does seem to be folding the flop somewhat often. With pocket twos. Let's see what happens here. We flop. Really nothing but a gut shot to the 3. So I'll just take a stab with half pot again, because I feel like she might be. My guess right now is that she probably tends toward folding the flop too often at like a pretty high frequency, which allows me to get away with betting a smaller size on the flop. If she check min raises me, she probably has an ace, I would imagine, or even better, she could have 2 pair, a set sometimes. But I have a gut shot and it's very, very cheap price, so I'm just going to call and then look for 2 or 3 on the turn. And if I don't find one, then tend to just fold to any reasonable turn bet here. She checks it. I'll just check it again. River doesn't help me. It's unlikely I'm good here. She seems kind of on the passive side. I doubt that she's raising like flush draws on this flop. So I expect that she just has like an ace or better here quite often. Then she massively overbets the river, which gives us a very, very easy fold. I think that that bet is extremely unbalanced towards strong hands, and it's overwhelmingly likely she had a very good hand there. Or at least a hand that she thought was best. So it's very unlikely my 2s were good, I would say. And she's going to limp it again. So I'm just going to check. This hand isn't quite good enough to raise out of position against a limp, but we flop a flush draw. So I'm going to lead out. Get called. Turn, pick up a pair. That's good. I'm just going to barrel pot again on the turn. Pretty standard here. And some small pot. And river doesn't help anything, so just check and give up. I don't really expect to be able to bluff her off this very much. I beat a few busted draws, but she'll just have an ace, like, or a jack or something fairly often. And she's going to bet slightly over pot again. I'll just check fold this one. It's fine. I don't really think a 3 is that good here. And like I said, my general perception of her thus far is that she's probably on the passive, maybe a little bit conservative side, at least post-flop. We flop a flush, which is pretty boss. So here I'm just going to, again, come at it with the half pot. I'm going to probably have that as my standard c-bet size against her, at least until I see her do something different. That's a great turn card. Doesn't pair the board, doesn't put any more diamonds down. Happy with that. She's going to lead out big on the turn, so I think this is an easy raise for value. With the flush, obviously the flush is way too good to her fold here. If she somehow has like a better flush, we definitely fold. River is a great card for us, doesn't change really anything. We only lose to better flushes, which is a cooler. We can never beat those hands, or never get away from this hand against those. So just all in on the river. And she has a pair of 9s. That's a pretty terrible call down. There's no justification whatsoever for that. My range completely obliterates her, so that's not very good. But you know, hopefully lesson learned. There's just way too many good hands I can have there. Like, the only way that she can win is if I'm on just, like, you know, a once in a blue moon, absolutely insane bluff. And I don't really see why I would be at this point. Anyway, so we just, you know, check to her limp again and flop nothing. Ace high and just check, and hopefully just check down and win with ace high here. Like, our hand isn't really good enough to bet for value to get worse hands to call. It's not really bad enough to turn into a bluff because not a whole lot of better hands will fold, so there's not much incentive to bet a hand like this here. Really what we want to do, as much as we can with this type of hand, most of the time is just try to check and get to the river and hopefully win with ace high against her nothing hands. Which it does. Cool. Very good. Zero of ace 2 on the button. She's short enough now that it actually becomes correct for me to start min-raising the button rather than opening 3 times the big blind, because you're typically under 40 big blinds. Like, you don't need to get as much in pre-flop, so it starts just kind of, in terms of stack depth, to make more sense structurally to just open the minimum when someone has less than 40 or 50 big blinds or so. And she has, 25 at the start of this hand. So we'll just go with a standard half pot here with top pair. I expect she'll call with any pair here, so we get at least a straight of value. And she's going to check fold the flop. It's fine. She's going to limp the button again. Check it. Flop a pair of 5s that's worth betting out. And a pot this small, I always just bet the size of the pot in a limped, like unraised pot like this. It's just, yeah. We get a ton of folds there. She's just going to have nothing really often. We probably had the best hand with a pair of 5s, I assume. That was a mistake on my part. Actually, I'm supposed to min raise against this stack size, but it's fine. It doesn't really matter that much. It's only a small difference. Here we flop nothing, gets up like a backdoor flush draw. But again, I think that she's just folding the flop. Like, the thing is, okay, she's going to lead out for more than the pot, almost twice the pot, which I think is a pretty silly play here. Like, it doesn't really achieve anything. It just kind of lets me fold my bad hands easily, and doesn't really incentivize me to put money in the pot when she has something. So I expect she had a very good hand there, almost always, and so I had nothing, and it's just an easy fold. He's limping again. I'm going to make it 4 times the big blind, I suppose. Just I'm doing this bigger out of position than I am on the button because I want to disincentivize her from calling. I'm out of position. I prefer that she just limp fold and I take it down. But she does call. We flop middle pair and a gutter. I think this is a good spot to just check call as a standard. I think that betting half pot is also okay here. But if I get like shoved on, it's kind of ugly and I probably just end up calling and not being very happy about it. Whereas if I let the flop check through, I can get thin value out of more turns and rivers. And I can also check call. I can catch a bluff sometimes where she might have just folded to a c-bet. So she's going to check back and min-raise the turn. I can't really fold this much equity to that. River doesn't help, so I just check. And honestly, I probably just call it off on this river. If she has a queen, that's fine. I'm willing to pay it off for this price. I don't need to win that often against that size if she shoves it in here. She just said she didn't have anything. Okay, cool. Or she had worse than my hand anyway, so that's good. All right, now she has 13 big blinds, which is small enough that we actually mostly just need to start shoving or folding. This is actually a stack up for limping. The button can sort of make a little bit of sense. But I'm not going to bother. I think it would probably be better for me to just shove or fold. Or, of course, just check if I don't have a hand to do it with. We flop nothing and just, I have some backdoor draws and she's going to have nothing really off on this board, so just bet out. Turn a pair of 5s and I'll just check it. It'll be the best hand occasionally. Checks back. Jack river doesn't help me. We're just checking down here and trying to get a showdown with a pair of 5s and hope that she just has, nothing. Like a pair of 3s or something. She's gonna bet all in. I think that I'm beat here pretty often, but just out of curiosity, I'm gonna call and kind of see why she's doing that. Yeah, she had a 6. Okay, that makes sense. I expected to lose there. It's a very little money, and I just wanted to get the information like why she's doing something like that. She ended up doing it with a very thin value range, very not polarized range. So in those kinds of spots in the future, I'll sort of lean toward expecting her to have not many bluffs in a situation like that, which is sort of what I suspected in the first place. But that's fine. Here we flop a gut shot to the 9 and then raise pot. So again, we're just going to bet out. And, expect enough folds to make us profitable. And occasionally we turn a 9 and make a straight. Here we don't. We have a pair of 8s now. Probably just check fold if she makes any kind of reasonable bet. She's going to overbet the turn. I'll just fold. These kind of weird sizes she's using, I don't think are likely to achieve a whole lot against someone competent. So here again, since she's under 40 big blinds, I'm opening the minimum on the button rather than the 3 times I usually do. Now I'm going to c-bet a little bit bigger this time because I want to try to get all the money in by the river. Turn is not that great because any 5x now has a straight. She's going to lead pot. It's fine. I just call and call off here. I mean, that's a bad river too, but she's just too short, and like I'm just not willing to fold a hand this good for this little money. So if she has a 5, it's fine. I'll just pay her off here. We get to check down. And she has nothing at all. I think she just took a stab at the turn to represent a 5. So fine enough. I guess good for her that she didn't continue that bluff on the river because I was calling for that price. She just has too little money to really think about folding all that often at this point. I'm gonna make it 3x here just because like this is theoretically probably wrong with stacks this short, but like I think that she doesn't like shove on me often enough to stop me from doing this, and then I can just half pot the flop, and it only needs to succeed about a third of the time as a bluff to make money, so that's fine. Okay, ace queen. We're just gonna open shove now because she's too short to really play poker. She has 12 and a half big blinds, and she folds. Now this hand is bad with very short stacks, so I'm just checking, and then I guess when she checks back flop, she just has nothing often enough that I can probably lead my entire range this turn and get enough folds. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I actually don't believe she'll call. I think she has a draw here really often, and none of the draws got there. So just shove here and like, oh, ace king, nice play. That's actually well played. Like the check back flop made me think that she didn't have anything. I think that's a good play. Anyway. Not much interesting is going to happen until she either gets back up to a full stack of 100-ish or busts out and buys a new one. So this is going to be some kind of boring short stack play for a little bit here. So try to bust her as soon as possible. She's going to check call one street. Oh, I turn a queen, which is lucky. I'm definitely going to bet. I'm going to bet a little bit bigger on the turn here because I want all of her draws to pay me. And I think that like her flush draws and a lot of straight draws would call again, trying to hit the river, but she just folds, which is also fine. I wanted to charge the draws a little bit more money there, so bet a little bit bigger. She's gonna open fold. All right. So we're still just open min raising here at the stack depth. If she gets down to like 12 or 13 big blinds, I'll start like open shoving as my standard. But with a little more than that, open min raising is fine. We have nothing here. Just check back. You can't always see that air every time. So we'll just try to check down here and hope that king high is good. Better king high. Oh, she made the backdoor flush and like checked it a third time to trap. That's interesting. That's an unexpectedly trappy move. So yeah, I think that yeah, she does seem a little on the trappy side. Like kind of passive trappy, which is interesting. So I guess like the correct strategy for me against that is to sort of not try to bluff tremendously often, and just sort of show up with pretty strong hands most of the time, and then steal away small pots frequently when she's not really prepared for it. Turn really nothing, just a 2 here, so I'm just checking. And like I don't know. I mean, I think we just fold here. Like, I mean, I don't imagine she bets all that many hands because, like I said, I think that she, at least thus far, seems to be on the sort of conservative, trappy side. So just gonna let that one go. We're just open min raise again because we get real short stacks. Nothing. I mean, that's worth like a half pot continue bet and then like give up if she doesn't fold and I don't turn a diamond or 4 or ace, maybe a probably barrel and ace, I suppose. But yeah, so just go with another half pot bet here. That doesn't help, so I'm just gonna give up after that. There's so little equity now, and there's no real reason to keep bluffing with this. Just like nothing here. Well, now any 10 got there, so I can perhaps bluff to represent this on the river. She's gonna bet out though. That I just fold in that case. It's too likely she has a hand she won't fold. Alright, so again, we just checked her limp with king high here, king 6. I fold nothing. I'm just gonna check it. Like, I'm gonna pick up a gut shot to the 5 on the turn, so that's worth a bet at least when she checks back. She checks back and min raises the turn, so I guess we call. Hope for a 5 river. It doesn't help. It's just our odds are way too good versus the min raise for another $2 there to fold it. So let me just check fold our nothing on the river. And min raise again. As long as her stack size stays below like 40 big blinds or so, I'm gonna keep using min raises on the button. We just flop a top pair. It's pretty good. Gonna bet a little bit on the bigger side because it's a monotone board, and I want to charge the flush draws more. And I would also like to be able to get all 3 streets in, but all the money in across 3 streets by the river in the event that a good run out comes up and they don't want any more diamonds. I'm going to just flop a middling pair and lead out against a limping range. I mean, she's just going to have nothing a lot. So really, if you flop, I mean, when she limps and I check, if I flop any pair, any kind of draw at all, I'm just going to bet the flop. I mean, there's just so likely for her to have nothing so often. She flops, we flop nothing, but this is probably worth, unless she leads out, this is worth a c-bet bluff because she'll just fold enough on this flop. Like, again, this half-pot bluff on the flop only needs to work 1/3 of the time as a bluff to profit. So even if she, even if she only folds to it like 35% of the time, it's still making money on average. So it's worth taking a stab quite often for that size against a player that will fold to it pretty often. Here we flop the nut flush draw, which is cool. So I'm going to come out with a little bit bigger bet. Tend to bet on the bigger side with my strong draws in general. The turn doesn't help. But I think that, like, probably we can get enough folds by just shoving this turn. Because, like, unless she has a 3, it's going to be hard to call. She might call me with an ace, but I still have, a little under 20% equity against that. Some pocket 8s. Huh, well played. Okay, well, that's probably a poor call, but well, now we know. All right, so maybe she can make some stationary calls sometimes, I guess. I don't know. Still kind of feeling things out. Open a bit bigger now because she's got back to a half stack over $50 again. So that means on the button I'm going to go back to my regular sizing as well. So she didn't really even hesitate on that call there with 8s for an overshove more than twice the pot. So that tells me she's sometimes willing to just kind of make like wacky snap calls for huge bets without really thinking, which is going to lead me to start overbetting good hands, especially now that I've just gotten caught on an overbet bluff. Going to end up definitely looking for spots to overbet my strong hands from here on. So I pick up a pair of 5s on the turn, and I'll just bet it for protection. Standard just pot in this pot this small. River doesn't do much. I guess 4x made a straight. We just check and hopefully check down here. Probably can't really call much. Unless she min bet, so that's $2 or something, so I'll call. But massive overbet. So again, she keeps making these enormous overbets that like are very likely extremely unbalanced toward good hands. So like, I mean, they just don't really give me much of an incentive to bother trying to do anything other than fold. So in most spots, so fine, whatever. Yeah, and I guess since I haven't seen her 3-bet once at all pre-flop, so definitely just open min raising. Actually, I guess I can go back to 3x. She's deep enough now, but definitely just gonna open every button until I see her do something to stop me. I mean, it's just this board hits enough for calling her hands, and I have no equity at all. That I decided to just let it go and then fold to the slight overbet on the turn. Is fine, very standard. Alright, we flop a pair, so we just lead out in this limp pot. Turn doesn't do much for us, but we can still just like half pot it for thin value to get his draws to call. Like his heart draws and his her draws. Excuse me, I'm playing with a woman. I forgot. Anyway, she min raises. I call. I can't really fold that size. I don't really know why she checks back and min raises turn. That might be her trying to be deceptive with a good hand, or she could have like queen four. The same hand as me. Yeah, that turn min raise doesn't make any sense. Like she really should just be calling on the turn. The min raise doesn't get action from any worse hands, and it doesn't fold out any better hands really. So, it seems a little silly to be doing that, but when we flop open-ended 2 overs, this is a great flop. So I'm actually just gonna like open up a pot betting range on this flop and kind of see how she reacts to that. This is a good hand to put into this range for this size, because like it gets more folds by being bigger, and when we have a draw, and the pot will be bigger if she calls and we make our draw. But she folds, which is fine. We flop a pair and lead out. She calls. Turn doesn't help. Pretty much just check folding to any reasonable bet on this run out. It's not a very good turn card. She over bets again on the turn, which again I think is just very, very likely to be a very strong hand. So let it go. So yeah, I mean, yeah, by limping button here every time instead of raising, she's really just like letting us see the flop for free, not really making any effort to steal away our blinds. I'm gonna take a stab at this turn and like, I think she'll check back and min raise the turn. I'll just let her have it this time. It's fine. So it seems like she just sort of min raises the turn with random hands sometimes. So I guess we'll just watch for that. She may also be doing it with some good hands, like to trap, be deceptive, I guess. I don't know. Just check back. Fours just have very poor equity on this board. With 3 clubs, I don't have a club, and just an underpair. Pretty much just give this one up to any bet. Obviously, our hand is pretty terrible here. I guess I'll take a stab. And she checks twice. She min raises again. I mean, alright, we'll fold this once more, but like, I'm not really gonna buy this check back and min raise the turn thing if she keeps doing it over and over and over. Flop. Nah, we have a sucker gut shot to the jack, but it's not really worth looking into much. I guess we'll stab at turn when she checks back. If she raises again here, I'm actually gonna like bluff. If she min raises again, I will bluff re-raise because she's been doing this every time. Ace river. Let's take a stab for 450, and maybe the ace is a scare card. I can represent the jack here enough, so I don't know. Then we get raised. It's just obviously a fold with nothing. So waiting on a decision from her here. And she's going to lay it down, so our bluff works. It's cool. Would flop a decent pair of 8s. Technically 2 pair, but So here we'll go for the half pot. I think that this is the kind of spot where we're going to want to like try to squeeze out a little bit more value. And I'm using these sizes kind of exploitatively. Whereas against a stronger player, I would just use more consistent, like singular sizes that are harder to predict. But here I think I can just squeeze out thin value from her and not really get raised very much unless she has a monstrous hand. So I'll just half pot, half pot. So we flop a gutter to the 3 and a limped pot. You know, any really draw at all is worth leading out here in a limped pot. We get min raised, call obviously. Can't really fold any draw to the min raise. That turn card is bad, doesn't help us, so we're pretty much check folding now. Shakes the river. I don't know. I like to check and hopefully we can check down and see what she was min raising this flop with. And she's going to overbet the river again. I expect she just has a 5 really often here, or maybe a flush occasionally. But obviously we have nothing enough to fold. We flop nothing at all. So we're just going to actually go with a little bit bigger stab here because we do have some drawing equity. Some backdoor draws and 2 overcards. And I want to try to, you know, balance some of these bigger sizes a little bit as well. This turn card we can barrel bluff at, I think, and get a good number of folds. And then we can probably actually 3-barrel bluff a lot of rivers here as well. But we get a fold in this turn, so that's good. So the king is just, you know, a scary card for her, from her perspective there, and I should get a good number of folds, which it did. So we flop nothing at all. Just gonna check. Turn a queen. I'm gonna check it again. Just I don't think enough worse hands really call. I guess there's 2 flush draws on board. I'm just gonna min bet the river for half pot, and she actually still folds even to $1. So. Yeah, I mean, I guess she doesn't 3-bet. She's, like I said, she's 3-bet 0 times pre-flop this entire match, so, you know, I'm going to open every button, literally every hand on the button I will open it, unless she starts re-raising me aggressively, at all, even. We have jack high, flop a flush draw, that's definitely worth leading out. And she just folds. We're still opening 3x because she's got over 40 big blinds. Seven, 5 suited. She's limping still. All right, so this one actually I'm going to raise a little bit. I haven't raised her limp in like quite a good while. I've had a lot of really bad hands when she's limped, so. Yeah, alright, so this looks like she's starting to give it credit and actually limp fold to it because she seems to recognize that I'm not doing it very much, so I probably am fairly strong when I do it. That's going to make me want to raise a few more bluffing, drawing type hands against her limp. Okay, she just limps again, of course. This is, you know, awful hand that we're just going to not really do anything with check fold. We'll just let her have that when she overbets again. So yeah, you know, still don't really have a good hand. Didn't have hand to raise against her limp, but we do flop top pair here, so we're going to lead out. She calls. King turn isn't good, but I think that we can still half pot and probably just squeeze thin value from her worst pairs and flush draws. She does this move again, the check back flop min raise turn. I'm not really buying it very much at this point. I don't think that it's likely to be a good hand that often now. She's just been doing it so much, like in kind of so many spots, it's just sort of become silly. So let's see what happens here. I'm just gonna kind of call for information to see what she's doing here. She has a worse queen, so we actually split the pot. Okay, so she's doing it like really, really, really thinly for value. The turn min raise and like river overbet thing. I don't think that's good. But you know. I think the problem with that is that I'm not going to call her with enough worse hands. So like when she does get called, she's just going to lose too often, and she's not going to bluff out enough better hands that often either. So she's just kind of making really big bets with extremely mediocre hands, which usually doesn't make sense. That's rarely a thing that is good in poker. When you make a really big bet or big raise, most of the time you should have either a very good hand or some kind of bluff or draw. Not usually your very mediocre hands. I don't believe this, but again, I think she's doing this with some kind of hand, not just like airball bluffs. So I'm going to fold and let her have it here since I have nothing anyway. It's kind of a novel thing she's doing by like checking back flop, raising turn with a wide range, but I don't think it's like straight up bluffs. I think she's just doing it with like most of her reasonably okay hands and playing them kind of the same way there. Make this $5 open again. I should just limp fold. That's fine. Flop a decent pair here. Just, go with our half pot here. She's going to check min raise, and we're going to call. She has a better 5 here some of the time. I'm happy to just check back this turn. River doesn't do a whole lot. I'll just pay this off and kind of see what she's doing. 7s. That's cool. I mean, that's fine enough. That's a little thin on the river, but it's not bad. After the turn checks through, I think that's okay. We just have nothing, and we're not really going to go after it. Especially because I feel like she's raising like kind of a high frequency on the turn, especially. So I'm a little less inclined to just go after it with like nothing. But now that she's checked twice, I think we could just stab at the river and get like king high, queen high to fold. Because she doesn't seem to like calling down without at least a pair. But now she's going to raise big on the river. So I think she was probably just trapping with some kind of hand here, and I'll fold. Here we really don't flop anything. This board just hits all sorts of things she can call with pre-flop, so I'm not going to take a stab. Pick up a pair of 5s on the turn. And just check it down, hope that we can get to showdown with our 1 pair here, our low pair. Again, our hand is just too mediocre to really put much money in with. I mean, again, we're not going to have no real reason to pay off this big overbet with a middling, such a weak hand like this. Alright, so I think she's been limp folding a lot, so I'm actually going to like take the $5 stab here and see if I can get another limp fold out of her. But she calls this time when we flop middle pair, so we'll just stab half pot. If we can get her to fold at least a third of the time here, we profit on that, so that works. We're going to flop top pair with the ace, which is great. So we'll just go with our regular half pot value bet here on this board. She's going to check call, turn another 3. That's pretty inconsequential generally. She can have a 3 now and again, but like, just go for another half pot value bet on the turn. It'd be interesting to see her check raise here. Like, and that'd be kind of a tough spot because she can have a 3, but I don't know if she just check raises like random worse hands for no reason. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, that's a great river though. Obviously, we beat a 3 now, so we only lose to like ace 10, or only lose to like ace 10 or pocket 3s, I guess. She's gonna lead river. We have a really easy shove here. She probably has the ace, though. I think we're just splitting. I think she almost always just has the other ace here, and we just split the pot. Like, I think that her leading that size on the river is very often just the last ace. But, of course, I have to raise all in case she's willing to call me with a worse hand. It's extremely unlikely that she has me beat here. Oh, she's actually going to fold it. Okay, I guess her river bet there might have been a bluff. I think that if she was value betting something on the river, I think she would have called the shove. So actually, I think she might have been bluffing there. I don't know. Not really sure yet. Yeah, I'm not just stabbing turns with nothing so much anymore because I feel like she's like min raising the turn with like so many hands that it's not really worth it to just stab at the turn with nothing anymore. Just getting erased too often. So again, yes, this is the worst starting hand at Hold'em, but like it's heads up and she's not re-raising me like ever, so it becomes correct for me to just pretty much open every single button unless she adjusts it somehow against that. Again, just flop nothing. We just check down, and Queen High should actually win a decent portion of the time of the river here when we check all the way down. She bets 10 times the pot on the river. Like, that really makes no sense. Like, it's just, I'm just never going to really pay this off at all, and it's just risking way too much money if she's bluffing, and it never really gets called if she's not bluffing, so that's just kind of a silly nonsense bet. Doesn't really accomplish anything. And I guess now she's short enough that we should be going back down to the min raise open size on the button. She's got under 40 again. I'm going to flop nothing and just stab for half pot. Oh wait, this is supposed to be min raise at this stack depth, right? I mean, I got some backdoor draws here. Take a stab. She'll just have nothing enough, I think, that it's worth a stab. She's going to peel one. We don't really pick up any improvement on the turn. I just kind of give up here. There's no real reason to put any more money with this hand. I don't really have any chance to make anything, and don't have anything, so. Well, actually, I think that like a medium-sized, medium-big bluff on this river gets everything. She raises. I guess we fold. I think that like a 7 will fold that river, and all of her busted flush draws should fold. And like I think that any pair worse than a jack folds, and a jack might even fold. Back to 3x now because she's got over 40 again. That's kind of an arbitrary cutoff point. That's just sort of how I do it. It's not perfectly precise, but it's a pretty close rule of thumb. So here we're just obviously going to lead huge on the flop. So we pick up gutter to the 4 and a very middling 5 high flush draw on the turn. So let's take a stab like fairly big here. And she'll fold. So here we're gonna make the make it 4x. It fits the stack depth a little bit better. And she limp folds. Oh yeah, and I guess she's under 40 now, so we're back to min raises on the button. We flop nothing. I mean, I'm just gonna take the bigger stab here because like I want more folds. I feel like this will just discourage this. This will encourage more folds for that size. And here we're gonna make it 4 over her limp again. She's gonna limp min 3 bet. That's interesting. I've never seen that, but I can't really fold to that size. We flop bottom pair. That's not very good. This is the very first time that she's 3-bet this entire match too, so kind of interested to see what she's playing at here. Yeah, my 7 is good. Okay, I don't know what she did that with, but a little weird. Kind of a funny line. So we're min raising the stacked up. We flop kind of nothing, just some backdoor draws. So I'm going to go with the bigger stab size here. And I feel like the half pot has sort of ceased to get a lot of folds. We get check min raised. I mean, with deeper stacks I could float here and like try to draw out, but I mean, we're just too short and I don't really have anything, so I'm going to fold. Yeah, definitely make the big raise here. She does the limp min 3-bet or whatever again here. I'm actually just going to shove. Oh, we flop a set. That's excellent. So a half pot here. And then might check jam a lot of turns. It's a good spot for that, I think. She just folds flop, though. I thought about trap checking that flop. I don't really know what her betting frequency would be into my check there. So I just went with a normal bet instead, but I don't know. Not really sure how much I'll be able to trap her in general. We'll see. So we got a top pair and a kind of weak gutter here. It's worth a half pot. So I actually am starting to adopt a little bit of an exploitative sizing strategy here. Where I half pot my better hands and like 3/4 pot my weaker hands, because I think she's correctly responding to those sizing changes. But I think that keeping her in with a wider range when I have a good hand is probably worth it. So she goes check raise barrel. If she ships this river, I guess I call, but I'm not real happy about it. She's just so short, and I have top pair, and like none of the draws really, except I mean, not much got there. I'll just pay this off. Yeah, she had a jack. Yeah, that's a terrible play. That never gets called by a worse hand and doesn't really fold that much better. No personal offense or anything, of course. I mean, I know she's a recreational player, so I'm not trying to like attack Olivia here or anything. That's not a good play though. So let's see if she wants to rebuy. So, I guess we'll just pause for a second, see if she's going to rebuy or whatever. Alright, so anyway, we're going to end this table and start a new session with three-handed with James Look. So, anyway, good game with Olivia. I think that I would say her main leaks, so probably just limping buttons instead of raising. That's typically a pretty big mistake, and just sort of making big bets and raises with very middling hands and not polarizing her range enough with those big bets ends up getting her kind of in these situations where she just isn't going to get called by a worse hand or fold out very many better hands, and so like just sort of ends up committing way too much money with very mediocre hands, I would say, are the biggest things I would advise her to work on. Anyway, so I'm going to end this video and go make a new one, a three-handed with Olivia and James. Thanks for watching.